inclusive spaces and ensure that everybody's safe wherever they are. And so one of the key things whenever it comes to a nonprofit organization is that we need to ensure that our mission and vision aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals. And so for our vision, we are looking at a world where every individual has the opportunity to thrive and communities are empowered to drive positive change. And for the mission, InspireChange International is looking at unlocking human potential and catalyzing sustainable development. So we inspire, empower, and connect individuals. And looking at our core values, we have empowerment because we believe that in every community, whether or not it's persons with disabilities or women or whoever is marginalized, they are empowered. And then our core value also is integrity, where we ensure that all persons who are working with us are disciplined, accountable, and ensure ethical standards are served. And so our next one is inclusivity, and then we embrace diversity and promote equal opportunities for all. And the last one is innovation. We encourage creative solutions and collaboration and collaborative approaches. And so for our thematic areas, we have 5. So we have the sexual and reproductive health and rights, we have humanitarian advocacy, and then we have the environmental sustainability, and then we have global citizenship. And all these, you're going to see it at our website, which is on www.InspireChange International. All right. And then you can, if you have any other inquiries, you can send us an email on info@inspirechangeinternational.org. And yes, this is our team of the first one, Rejoice Tetteh-Narh. She's the founder and executive director, and myself. And then we have Gideon, who's also on here. So thank you very much. That's just it for what we have today. And for the item today, we'll have our first session, that is concept on gender and gender-based violence. And so we have our speaker who has a master's in gender, peace, and security from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. All right. And then she's the gender desk advisor at the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. So the first session, we're going to delve into key components of gender, gender-based violence in all its entirety. And so I'm going to leave the podium for Joana Ajoko Ahinakwah. She's going to be taking us through the gender bit. And so, yeah, fingers crossed for her. Now you can start yours now.
All right. Thank you once more, ladies and gentlemen. And special greetings to our esteemed audience. Yeah. So I'm particularly excited today because we've had a successful, should I say, I think it's a successful election. It's been very peaceful, and my interest is that it's mainly centered on the youth. And the second the second thing that brings me joy is that we are going to talk about young people and how they can break away from all sort of stereotypes to get them to the places they really want to be, even as we look at gender-based violence issues. So quickly move to our slide. And start our discussion. Okay. Yeah, so I've been given the topic to look at the role of young people in challenging gender stereotypes and promoting positive gender norms. We can see a few pictures on our slide, but I'm sure the first one that attracts you is the gentleman with the pink suit. As soon as you see that, you'll be like, wow, how can this guy be in a pink suit? Because we think pink is really meant for ladies and not gents. So you expected him to be in either black or blue. Same applies to the rest of the pictures here, where you see a guy as hairstylist, a lady as pilot. Gradually, we are breaking away from it, but it's still a major menace in our society that we hope to move away from. So we'll be looking at a few things based on what I've been given by our team. We'll look at a few definitions and discussions when it comes to gender pertaining to our topic. Then we'll look at how to foster mutual respect in personal and social relationships. We'll look at the role of young people in challenging gender stereotypes and promoting positive gender norms. Then we'll quickly move to how practically we can show respect for gender equality as embedded in everyday life. So that's actually what we'll be looking at today. So the issues of gender are quite dicey, and I'm sure these images can help us understand it better. So gender is actually a socially and culturally constructed characteristic which distinguishes men and women, boys and girls. And this influences the way they act and feel about themselves. Please, are you here with me?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we are
can hear
listening.
you.
Okay.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are
so
listening.
this influences the way they act and feel about themselves. We have 4 dimensions when it comes to gender. But even before that, we should know that gender is not the same as sex. So your sex is your natural makeup. You were biologically born a girl or a boy with your genitals. So the boy's genitals are different from the girl's genitals, and that makes up your sex. But when it comes to gender, gender is how you were nurtured. So even if you're a boy and your society thinks you should be nurtured like a girl, you grow up behaving as such. If you're a girl and your society thinks you should be stronger, you grow up as such, behaving like a boy in a certain way. So gender is our nurturing, while sex is our biological makeup. So the dimensions of gender gives us the dimensions of gender gives us our biological sex, which is based on our external genitals. It gives us our gender identity, which is the sense that one is either male or female. So this is something in your mind. You think I'm a guy, so you are a guy. You think I'm a lady, so you are a lady. That's your gender identity, your gender expression. That's either being a man or a woman, how you physically appear, wearing your dress, wearing your skirts. A man appears in skirts and everybody is like, oh, in Ghana, we don't do that. Or a man appears in a dress and we say, no, this is a no-go area. Or a man appears with braided hair and there's a certain perception about you. So we think a man or a woman should appear in a certain way. That's our gender expression. And that's part of the dimensions of gender. Then we come to the sexual orientation. That's attraction to others based on gender. So a man is usually attracted to a woman and vice versa. So when a man says he's attracted to a man, in our Ghanaian society, it becomes a bit odd because our culture doesn't go that way. But in other cultures, it's accepted. So we should get that right. Gender-based violence is also another concept we can look at. Is a prevalent human rights violation, and any act of violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or mental harm or suffering to a woman in public or private, or a threat of or such acts. So looking at the pictures, you can see the man his mouth has been closed. So he's somehow verbally abused and he cannot come out because of our cultural or social breakup. A man is not supposed to report such things. That's how we have grown up to socialize. So a man may not be able to say, my wife is beating me, or my girlfriend slaps me every day when he needs this or that, when she needs this or that. A woman, on the other hand, is a weaker vessel, as we all know, and they usually suffer from gender-based violence. So we can see a mark on a lady's eye here as a result of a trauma she might have gone through from a man. So these are all forms of gender-based violence, and it's rooted in inequalities between men and men, which is usually caused by lack of mutual respect. Then we quickly move to gender respect. When we talk about gender respect, what do we mean? It's just a part of gender equality, which is the idea that everyone should have equal rights, opportunities, regardless of their gender identity. So we need to treat people with dignity, and it's essential in gender respect. So the pictures we have here, for instance, the first one is a group where the man happens to be the leader. We have disabled people there, we have men and women there who are all listening, trying to move towards the same goal. They are not saying because there's a disabled person that when she makes a comment, it doesn't work. They all take collectively the comments from each and every one of them, and they move to a common goal. Same applies to the second picture. We have two people in white. The first talking is the head of the team, and she's assisted by the female. They all come together, contribute in different ways towards a common goal. The man will not say, because it's a woman who is my partner, I won't allow her to function as she should. Or the woman will not say, because he's a man, he will lord over me, so I'm not going to take instructions from him. But they all work in a team because of gender respect. And then they move towards a common goal and achieve all that they need. Our third picture is showing that the lady is the head of the team. And our men are mostly, because of ego, will say, oh, the man may not be comfortable having the head as a woman. But no, it doesn't work that way. When there's gender respect, there's mutual respect. And so if you are the head of the team and you are a man, we all agree, we move to the common goal. If there's a problem in the way or the other, we solve it, and then we move on to achieve what we need to achieve. So whether the head is a man or woman, we work together towards a common goal and we get the ultimate results. We also have gender equality. So gender equality has been in the system for a very long time, and I think we are getting there. So we expect women and men to be given the same opportunities. Whatever position you give to a man, we expect that the woman will be given the same opportunity. If there's any training for a man, we expect that the woman will be given the same opportunity. So it's an equal value by society of the similarities and differences of men and women and the roles they play. Finally, is our gender stereotyping. It has been a big issue time past, and we are still facing it in diverse ways. Gender stereotyping is ascribing certain attributes, characteristics, and roles to people based on their gender. So, and gender stereotypes are really negative. So that we can say women are mainly drivers, they are bad drivers. Men can't change diapers. So as soon as you say men can't change diapers, that means women can do it better. So you are putting them in a certain position. As soon as you say women are bad drivers, you think men are better drivers. So you are putting them in a certain situation, and that's what we want to run from, because it prevents them from a lot of opportunities. Yeah, so these are just a few concepts we've looked at. The next thing we will look at is the few stereotypes in our Ghanaian society, a few examples. So in our Ghanaian society, as soon as it begins from the home, right from birth, they tell you, the man may ask, or the family may ask, what do we have? Oh, we have a strong human being. And as soon as that is said, some people think the strong human being will be a man, a male. Then the weaker vessel will be a female. So because they need a male to be the next king, they need the male to take care of the farm, they need the male to inherit all the properties. They are super excited. But hearing that is a woman, a baby girl, is another big blow for a family. But I think it's somehow facing now, saying, even though it's still in our system, we hope we get over it as time goes on. Again, children are socialized from infancy that boys are superior. Certain religious positions are mainly for men. So when you come to our Muslims, the sheikhs are usually reserved for men. I'm yet to see a female positions, key positions maintained for men. And we hope to break that cycle as we even go through this presentation. Men do not shed tears or show emotions. So, soon, that sort of thing. So a man wants to cry when something hard hits him, and because we say so a man cannot show emotions, the man has to bottle up the emotions, and it does not heal us, even as human beings. We gain healing even from shedding tears and expressing our emotions. So we've made men so tough, and we are losing part of the fact that losing sense of the fact that when they get so hard, they push it back to society. So we have to look at that. We should allow the men to feel free. Women prepared as wives for the kitchen, as men are kept for education to get to the highest. These are a few stereotypes. Unequal pay structure in some private firms. These are a few stereotypes in our Ghanaian society. So having talked about all this, we'll now look at the importance of mutual respect to ensure gender respect, because we know when there's gender respect, violence is reduced tremendously. So let's look at mutual respect, which mutual respect exists where people in any relationship values, acknowledges, and considers the feelings and opinions of the other person. And in fostering mutual respect, transparent communication, reliability, and consistency, recognition and appreciation is, and finally, consensus building are key. So if we are able to build on our relationships, acknowledge each other, have transparent communication, especially in a male-dominated area where women are. When there's transparent communication, when there's trust, they feel comfortable to work at ease. But when a woman is in a male-dominated area and they are not well communicated to, they are not respected in any way, they are not able to bring out their best. So that's why we need mutual respect in every aspect of this gender-based violence chain to break it completely and be free. If we're able to ensure that there's mutual respect, some of the importance are conflict resolution. We respect each other. When we have issues, we talk to each other. You respect your boss, even though she's female. The male can walk up to him and say, "Mom, because of this and that, I think you have to do this and that." And same applies to a man. Then we are able to resolve our issues, and it fosters emotional safety. When a woman finds herself in a male-dominated area and there are issues and they are able to understand her, she feels comfortable in that environment. This again fosters communication and active listening. So you listen to each other, you communicate as and when there are issues to solve. And it promotes cultural, social diversity, it promotes individual growth, and your relationship is enriched and lengthened. And finally, all these things contributes to nurturing trust. So I trust that my team will be with me through thick or thin, and we'll get to our desired area. We'll get to achieve all that we want to achieve. So I'll trust my team. Even though I'm a young person, I know my team is there for me and to carry me through as and when I need them. So these are some of the things we need to understand about ensuring mutual respect as we enforce gender respect. The role of young people in challenging gender stereotypes and promoting positive gender norms is next on our slide. So as we can see here, a young lady has defied the odds to be a mechanic, which is usually strange. When you tell people you're a mechanic and you're a lady, they're like, "Oh, how possible?" You see young ladies in the Ayalolo bars who are mates. You are wondering, because of our socialization, we have come to accept that certain things are not just possible. So how can our young people challenge these stereotypes and promote positive gender norms? The first one is personally building their self-esteem and serving as advocates as they enlighten their colleagues and societies. You build your self-esteem through reading. There's so much on the internet. There are so many organizations to join to hear a lot about some of these things, to be told that even though you are a lady, you can be an engineer, even though you are a guy, you can be a hairstylist, even though you are a guy, you can be a nurse, you can be a fashion designer. All these things contribute to building our self-esteem. And when we are able to build our self-esteem, we serve as advocates, we enlighten our colleagues and our societies, and then gradually we break away from stereotypes, and then we become free in our societies and in our lives, taking advantage of acquiring practical skills that resist stereotyping. So you think you have the interest to be a pilot, why not? You go through the system, you have mentors, you learn more about the profession. Don't say being the pilot is for men. No. Don't say maths is for guys. No. Don't say cooking is for ladies. No. Don't say taking care of children is for women. No. If you are interested in that profession, in that skill, why not? Acquire the skills, get mentors, learn or read more about it, and you break from this stereotype. Practically breaking away from stereotypes by pursuing their desired professions. Yes, that's what we talk about. Demand for representation in all areas of life. So as young people, we shouldn't say you are too young to be a politician, you are too young to be the manager of a company. Just know that you have the required skills and expertise. And then why not? You take it up and you get there and you break from all stereotypes and be a voice to also bring others to the promised land. Next on our slide is practical ways of ensuring gender respect in our everyday lives. And I think the first one we can talk about is championing decisions that encourage training and rid of both sexes. So in our institutions, when there are discussions, when there's open forum, we should be able to talk to our management staff to allow both sexes to be part of training and upgrade programs. You shouldn't say it's only the men who should be given opportunities to travel because the women will take care of their families. No, when we do that, we are not building both sexes, and it becomes a disadvantage for them when top positions are required for certain people. It becomes redundant when you bring a woman to a top position and she cannot function. Then we turn around to say women always want to be pushed there, but they can't do anything. But women can do it when we train them. So in a small way, we should ensure that both sexes are trained as they should, so that when important positions are needed, we can trust that they'll deliver. Ensure equal division of labor. So in our homes, for instance, we should ensure our children, the wash bowls, both male and female cook and clean, both male and female go to school. We shouldn't assign certain duties to just ladies because the lady must be in the kitchen and take care of the baby. No, the boy and the girl can both take care of the kitchen. They can both read their books. They can both play with toys, not toys for just for kitchen, but toys for car toys and all those things. It size up their mind, and as they grow, they grow with it and they change society. We have to resist abusive behaviors. We should be quick to identify colleagues and family members who experience violence and extend support. Also, we should encourage women leaders and vote in their favor. If we are able to educate women, then we can encourage them to get to the top and support them when they need our votes, so that we know they can deliver. Then the last point is paternity leave to be championed among other workplace benefits for a good balance. We have the maternity leave. We should push the men to also get their paternity leave, so that the fight against gender-based violence will not be a one-sided thing, but the men will join us. The fight against stereotyping will not be a one-sided thing. The men will join us and will achieve the required results. Finally, in conclusion, we are reminded that gender-based violence is a major consequence of gender inequality. But the true gender equality is when both women and men have a voice. How do we make sure we have the voice? We have to equip ourselves. We have to understand that we need to break from gender-based violence. We have to understand the disadvantages of gender-based violence. Then we'll push it aside and go for the greater goal. Fostering mutual respect as well. Gender-based violence is avoided to a large extent when trust, love, and commitment become a major force. So if we're able to ensure respect at all levels, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're a young person, if we are able to respect ourselves and give ourselves the opportunity to listen and listen to each other and help each other, then we'll be able to achieve all that we need. The young people in this generation are powerful and they have very interesting viewpoints. So we need to assist them, and they also need to understand that they have to take up the challenge and move to the top. It's possible. So we can do it. We can all fight stereotyping and join the fight against gender-based violence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was a very powerful presentation, absolutely insightful. And then we are grateful for having you here to share with us the role of women in the gender bit. And so on today's itinerary, our next person to present is a lawyer, and she's also passionate about gender-based violence and feminism. And so she's Karen Essiful-Ansah, all right? And then she is going to be a legal expert on the issues of the Domestic Violence Act, what categorizes gender-based violence, what are some of the key things when it comes to the legal perspectives, and how it is important for you as a man to know the laws that protect women. And it's also important for you as a woman to know what you should do and how you should go about it when you are faced with other things of a sort. And so we're going to welcome her, and then I'm going to be sharing her slides. And so I hope you all stick to this particular one because it's very important. And you also know that ignorance is no excuse of the law. And it is very important for us all to be enlightened on the need for us to not cross barriers when it comes to other people's boundaries, whether it's a sexual, emotional, or whatnot. And so, yes, the floor is yours, Madam Lawyer.
Hi, good evening. Please, I hope you can all hear me.
Yes.
So, as our able managers and our able organizers said, my name is Karen. They said I'm a lawyer and I'm passionate about domestic violence and feminism and all that. So, yeah, before I start, I'd like to say thank you to Rejoice and Eva for this opportunity. And kudos to our first speaker. I learned a thing or two about stereotypes. I'm just happy that the conversation is going on. So thank you for that. Before I start my presentation in quotes, they said I have just 20 minutes. And my experience with law school, I just don't like the overload of information. So I'm not going to bore you. I'm just going to keep it as simple and short as possible. But I'd first like to say that gender-based violence connotes this ideology that it affects only women. And in as much as I'm a supporter of women's rights and women's wrongs, I can't agree with it solely. Like our first speaker said, not only women are victims of domestic violence, men are too. And one thing I've learned about the law is that the law is very, very gender neutral. For instance, if you are getting a divorce and you're supposed to pay alimony, it doesn't matter that you are the woman or you're the man. If the court ascertains that you, the woman, you can fund or you are rich or wealthy enough, you are the one going to pay the alimony to the man. It's just that the men, for this patriarchy and other cultural reservations, they don't chase after those things. But everybody is entitled, like we are all equal before the law, basically. So yes, even though it seems as though women are the only victims, in quotes, men are too. And my whole presentation is to advise all of us, because there are also men and women, all of us together. We should learn. I mean, people say things like the law doesn't work in Ghana and stuff like that. But when you get into trouble, you know that the law does work. So just to be on the safer side, avoid trouble. Because if you check from my slides, the first thing I'm going to do is the beginning of everything you have to define. So we're going to define what domestic violence is according to the law. And our legal framework that we'll be referring to is the Domestic Violence Act 2007. And that act in section 1 defines what domestic violence is. And I'm going straight to that because when you check, it says that domestic violence is defined as engaging in the following acts. In acts is in capitals within the context of a previous or existing domestic relationship. So with the domestic relationship, which we are going to see in the coming slides, you realize that there are like a vast range of situations you can be in that can cause you to be in a domestic violence situation. So just avoid it totally. That's my advice to you. So, okay, we've done the definition. So with the definition, we said that they are acts. So first, we're going to talk about what those acts are. So the breakdown, acts versus domestic relationship. So what are the acts that fall into the domestic violence category? So first of all, we'll talk about any act under the Criminal Offences Act, Act 29, which constitutes a threat or harm to a person. The purpose of my presentation is also to disabuse your minds of certain myths. For instance, people feel like domestic violence is all about the physical aspect, but threats do form a huge part of domestic violence. So if I'm around you and I feel threatened, we are going to have a domestic violence problem. So always bear that in mind. So yeah, if you check the Act 29 and there's any act that you do that falls into that category in Act 29, you are liable for domestic violence, So the other thing, the other act that we'll talk about, specific acts, threats again. I'm hammering on it because in Ghana, people like to show where power lies. So every now and then they try to threaten you. If you go about threatening people because you want to show that you are macho, you are most likely going to get into trouble. So don't think that, you didn't do anything to the person. So far as the person feels some type of anxiety or they feel antagonized by you, you are within that domestic violence scope. So there's also that. So if those acts result in physical abuse, sexual abuse, economic abuse, emotional, verbal, or psychological abuse, harassment, including sexual harassment and intimidation, by inducing fear in another person. You see, that's the thing. It's not always physical, it's emotional as well. So if you're inducing fear into people, you are in the domestic violence bracket. So any behavior or conduct that in any way harms or may harm another person. Oh man, Sheda, I didn't do it on purpose. No, we don't do that. You can't go to court and say that you didn't do it on purpose. So far as actions have consequences, like I always say, just avoid it to be on the safe side, So if it may harm another person, you are within that bracket. So any act that is likely to result in behavior or conduct. Oh, I think I mentioned that already. Or any act that endangers the safety, health, or well-being of another person. An act that undermines another person's privacy, integrity, or security. Now, when I was revising my notes on this, there was this case that came up in my, from school. Those of you that like recording people, in the act, in any sexual act, you're undermining that person's privacy. And with the new law that has come, the cybersecurity law that is in force now, you are going to get into a lot of trouble by, undermining that person's privacy. And it comes under domestic violence. So again, it's not just about physical abuse and the ones we know, but dealing with things relating to people's integrity and people's security, or things that detract or is likely to detract from another person's dignity and worth as a human being. The dignity of all persons are inviolable. As a human being, you are nothing without your dignity. So the act, covers that as well. So let's bear that in mind. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I've already mentioned some bits and pieces. So we're going to start with physical abuse, just expand a bit, to refresh our memories, because when we say physical abuse, it may seem a bit too broad. But yeah, physical abuse includes physical assault, scratching, pushing, kicking, punching, throwing things, using weapons such as knives, guns, cutter, stick, physically restraining another person, shoving them, strangling, biting, throwing items at the target, and grabbing clothes. I had a very interesting experience last week, and I went to social welfare. Now, my client has been dragged to social welfare because the lady says she's pregnant and she needs him to pay some maintenance. And for some strange reason, they are so upset with me, the lawyer, because I'm a woman and apparently I'm defending them. But Charlie, I have to do it. It's a job. The guy came to me and I don't have any, there's nothing I can do. I actually swore an oath to be there for people, so I have to. And the pregnant woman came with her sister, who is the type of antagonizing, man, like ready to fight type. Hey, and this woman she's trying to hold my dress and she's trying to like tell me that she's going to slap me, like if I fall. Hey, Charlie, small lawyer that they're not even paying me for. This woman wants to. So when I saw the grabbing of clothes, sometimes when you are in some kind of tensious situation with someone, you are most likely to grab their clothes. So it's not just about beating. If I can show signs to a police officer that you've messed up with my clothes because you grabbed it, you are within that physical abuse arena. So there's also that. Use of physical force against another person, including the forcible confinement or detention of another. That's literally like kidnapping type of energy. Like, don't confine people, don't detain them. You are physically abusing them. The deprivation of another person's access to adequate food, water, clothing, shelter, rest. These all come under torture. And if you check our constitution, torture is so unacceptable, especially when there's like a crime, like someone commits a crime and then you are trying to torture them to get the information out of them. Like, torture is not permissible even for criminals. How much more for a normal person that you another normal person, you want to torture somebody by denying them access to adequate food, water, clothing, shelter? No, it's just physical abuse and you should avoid it. So yeah, basically subjecting another person to torture and other cruel, inhumane, degrading treatment or punishments. Like I said, people's dignity do matter, so you should avoid doing things that mess up with their dignity. So our next point will be sexual abuse. Please, I hope I'm within time. I'm trying to run through as fast as possible. But yeah, sexual abuse, forceful engagement of another person in sexual conduct, any conduct that abuses, humiliates, degrades another person or otherwise violates another person's sexual integrity. A sexual conduct by a person aware of being infected with HIV or any other STD with another person without that other person being given prior information of the infection. Sex is a very consensual thing. Big advocates against rape. Like, there's no way you can get me to sympathize with the rapist. That's just me. Because, for every 1,000 women that say no to you for like sexual activities, there are 10,000 more that will gladly sleep with you. So why would you force someone? And most especially when you know that you are affected with some kind of disease, see, just avoid it, Sha. That's my own. Before you get into trouble with the law, because when you get into trouble with the law, the system is rigged though. If you come to court, hey, you file paper, you go to counterback small, then the court will say adjourned. Come 3 months later, they will take you back to remand. Please don't come to court. I'm telling you, the system is rigged. So yeah, just avoid all these things. If you know you are infected with some kind of disease, ask the person. If the person likes you that much and wants to indulge in things like maybe using a condom or that type of thing to prevent exchanging or getting into contact with whatever it is that you have, that's fine. Consent is the watchword, as I wrote in the slides. So please, that's it for sexual abuse. Then we have my personal favorite, economic abuse. A lot of people glide over it, like I said, because most of the time the attention is on the physical. But if you are with your partner or in any domestic relationship where you are deprived of economic and financial resources, which you are entitled to by law, that's a domestic violence situation. Because, for instance, you have like maybe a man, you are in a domestic relationship with a woman, and she sells maybe some provisions. She's entitled to it by law because she's working for it. It's her income that she attained, or he or she attained by whatever work they are engaged in. So if that other partner deprives them of it, then that's economic abuse and it's abhorred by the law. So you should avoid it. The disposition or threatened disposition of movable or immovable property in which another person has a material interest. So, side note, there are some married couples that when they're getting divorced, they find out that, or maybe they feel like, oh, we're getting divorced, so let's split the house into two, and everybody should get their share. Let's split profits into whatever, and then let everybody take their half and go their way. Then you find out that your husband has, or your wife has sold the whole thing, not even his portion or something. So the person has sold the entire thing. You have an interest in it by virtue of maybe someone else, maybe you contributed to the building of the house, or you contributed to the purchasing of the car or whatever, and the man or the woman sells it all, and so now you don't have any interest, like it's gone. So the law prevents married people, like your partner, without your partner's signature, you are not allowed to dispose of, especially a building. So that is something that the law does to check these things. However, when you are in a relationship, domestic relationship with someone, and the person disposes of or threatens to dispose of any property that you have with that person, where you have an actual interest, not that maybe you are just a licensee or someone that they've given some when and the person says come and stay here. No, not that one. You actually have an interest. If the person threatens to dispose it of or disposes it of, that person is in violation of the domestic violence law. So that's another example of economic abuse. Hiding or hindering the use of property, those type of partners that want to major a car, they bought you one small car, they bought for you, you cannot even have peace. Any 2 seconds, being my car keys, those things. So all those things are economic abuse. Damaging or destroying property in which another person has a material interest. So there's this particular advert I saw. It's like, hey, Charlie, people, you have had to. The woman was angry with the partner, and then she gets a bat and she smashes his windscreen of a very posh car like that, and smashes, like, destroys a lot of things. And then in the end, he brings her pizza man, chicken man or something, and then she's okay. I don't know if you've seen that advert, but yeah, that type of behavior is illegal. You can't do that. Please, if you're angry with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your sister or your brother, whatever it is, please don't go and touch their property. If they bring you to court, that's your own problem. Anyway, emotional, verbal, psychological abuse. Another personal favorite of mine, because again, I like advocating. If you know me, my mouth doesn't lie. Any small thing, I'm advocating. Freedom fighter. As someone who advocates for mental health related problems, why are you causing people to be unhappy? You are constantly making someone miserable. Why? Please, it is domestic violence. It's not only beating someone, I keep telling you. Any conduct that makes another person feel constantly unhappy, miserable, humiliated, ridiculed, afraid, jittery, or depressed, or to feel inadequate or worthless. Those type of people that when you're with them, you can never feel like you're a human being. Domestic violence, if they go and report you, you'll be hurt too. So please, if you know that you're with someone, especially these things play out more in like, boyfriend, girlfriend, intimate relations. Even though you don't like the person, just let the person go. You'll get somebody else. But to be with someone and make them constantly unhappy, constantly miserable. My own is the G3, because I don't know if you've been in a situation where you're like constantly on edge because you don't know what next. Hey, it's a terrible feeling. So that is also an example of domestic violence situations that you should avoid. So we go to harassments. We've already talked about sexual harassment, like sexual abuse. So this also includes sexual harassment and intimidation by inducing fear in another person. So constantly being on, especially if you are you're with a boss who is very antagonistic and always on edge and is always inducing fear in you. Sometimes they may have their own good reasons because they're trying to get you to get the job done, but it's not the best. It's a toxic work environment and it's illegal to make or induce fear in another person. So that's the other category that doesn't have a head in the law. And it says behavior or conduct that in any way harms or may harm another person, endangers the safety, health, or well-being of another person, undermines another person's privacy, integrity, or security, or detracts or is likely to detract from another person's dignity and worth as a human being. I think we've already talked about this, but just a refresher, it's not just physical abuse again, so please take note. So the domestic relationship thing I've been saying, domestic violence doesn't only occur between intimate couples. Again, Section 2 of the Act, that's the Domestic Violence Act 2007. It defines a domestic relationship as a family relationship, a relationship akin to a family relationship in a domestic situation. So if you're like third cousins or they brought someone from the village, it's not really your cousin, but they are from the same place or they live with you, that type of situation. It exists or has existed between the complainant and the respondent. So basically we are just expanding on the Section 2, which is defining what a domestic relationship is. So the complainant and the respondent, the one complaining about the domestic violence, it's either that they've been married or currently are married to the respondent. So it can be your current partner or your ex. The complainant lives with the respondent in a relationship in the nature of marriage, even if they are not or were not married to each other, or could not or cannot be married to each other. So we have those empanawari type of situations. That's, what do they call that thing? Cohabitation type of thing. If you are in such a situation and then you are doing any of those acts we just spoke about, the complainant is entitled to report you because they are in a domestic relationship with you, because even though you are not married, you have a situation that resembles marriage. Okay, so the complainant is engaged to the respondent. Courting the respondent is in an actual or perceived romantic, intimate, or cordial relationship, not necessarily including a sexual relationship with the respondent. You see, this is why I'm hammering on it, that try and avoid problem, because the law anticipates any amount of situations that you can be in. And I highlighted actual or perceived romantic relationship because the one that taught us this course, Miss Lamti, she gave us an example of when she was in Legon. I don't know if it was Legon, but like uni, basically, when she was doing her undergrad. And she said there was this guy and a girl, maybe in their study group. And they all knew that a guy really liked this girl. But he never told the girl anything. And he was always doing acts that show that he's in love with her. But then the girl too, you've not said it to me too. So he's always buying her things, whatever a boyfriend should do for a girlfriend, he was doing it for her. So one day, he finds out that the girl is getting married or is getting into some serious relationship or something like that, and he's heartbroken, and he comes to the lady in like a lot of anguish and a lot of like, he's very pissed, visibly so. And the girl was like, what is it? Like, I don't get it. Why are you upset? So this situation that she's trying to use it to explain to us that it's a perceived romantic relationship. Like, to the boy, they were dating. In his mind, they were dating, but she didn't was dating her, that type of thing. So if you're in such a thing, if the guy had gone off on her, had tried to hit her, something like that, that would fall in this category because it's a perceived romantic relationship and they are in a domestic relationship. I hope you guys, you're getting me. And the last on this slide is the complainant and respondent are co-parents, as they have a child together, and they are or either that, or they are expecting a child together, or they are foster parents of a child. So these are examples of domestic relations. We have others. The next slide says where the complainant and the respondent, they are family members related by consanguinity, that's by blood, affinity by marriage or adoption. So maybe your in-laws, your in-laws, cousins, that type of wide webbed relationship, that Ghanaian type of things. It's my cousins, aunties, sisters, all those type of things are covered in that point E. So the complainant is in any type of relationship as such, that also falls under domestic relationship. And so if you perform any of those acts that to on these type of people, then violation of the act. It's clear. So F, where the complainant and the respondent share the same residence or are co-tenants. So again, wide spectrum. It's not only with intimate relationships or normal friendships or family. Even someone that tenants, you're in the house with a co-tenant and every 2 seconds you're threatening them. Be careful. Don't go and threaten anybody that you beat them. Small thing, you beat them. Mamaga, please. We don't do that. So if the complainant is a parent, an elderly blood relation, or an elderly person who is by law of the respondent. So when we were in law school, we learned that there are some people that if they are taking care of their aged, maybe their grandmother or something, it's like it's left a small, then she'll buy a box. So you're always, that you're not in her will. So you're always trying to avoid, like, you don't want to give her food, you're starving her, inducing her, making sure that she knows that if you don't put me in your will before you die, you won't get food to eat, so you better give me something, those type. I don't know if you've heard any situation like that, but apparently there are people that do that. They will starve you, they will not take good care of you, because after all, they know that they are not in your will. So in order to enjoy the few days that you have left before you enter the box, you just have to write them into your will. So like we said, there are some acts that when you do makes you you are in violation of the Domestic Violence Act. And one of those acts was the torture that I was talking about, where you deny someone adequate food, like general well-being issues, you just neglect to. So this is an example where the complainant is a parent. Let's say, like I'm the example I gave you, that parent or that grandparent, she feels like you're not treating me well, you're neglecting to feed me and all that. You fall under this category. House help in a household of the respondent. So complainants for domestic violence can be a house help, and she's reporting you because you are, constantly treating her. These house help stories that we hear. So be careful of that as well. Where the complainant is in a relationship determined by the court to be a domestic relationship. So sometimes some people are there that they think they are wiser than God. So they will say that if they go to the lawyer, they will realize that, or they read the law and see that they are not in any of these categories. But then the law or the courts always ensure that justice is done. So if you go and your matter is not in any of the things from A to I, the court will determine by the facts and the whatever story you bring to the courts through your pleadings, they will determine whether or not you are in a domestic relations. And one thing about why I keep saying avoid the courts is that the power and the discretion is always with the judge. Like, they have so much power. They can literally determine anything anyhow. So why do you want to be at the mercy of man? Even I always say that it's better to be at the mercy of God than at the mercy of man, because God will forgive you, but man, if you go and meet a judge who is a woman, usually lawyers in domestic violence cases, we like women judges, because you know that the woman judge, she understands these things, especially if she had, I didn't say it, but if she had like a domestic violence issue, maybe a husband used to beat her or something, you won your case. Simple car, because you the respondents that you were beating whoever it is, she won't even she'll come out to cry for them, rule in favor of the complainant. So please don't be at the mercy of a judge. Try to avoid those acts and consider the fact that you can be in a domestic relationship with anybody at all, even someone you're sitting with in church, or someone that's, let's say, for instance, there are days when I pick church to work. Anytime I'm walking from my house to where I'm going to get the car, if there's a particular maybe mobile money vendor, or there's a particular kebab seller, or whatever, somebody, a particular man that I always constantly meet on my way to that place and on my way back, the courts can determine that we are in a domestic relationship, because I can stand there and greet him, we can just small, because I'll be passing there every day. We have some kind of rapport. So it's a very wide spectrum. That's all I'm saying. So the next thing we're going to say is we talk more about how the court determines a domestic relationship in slide 14. So basically, there are also third-party situations where you are in a domestic relationship, but I don't think it's too necessary. So let me just rush through. If you are providing refuge for someone, let's say you met like some kayayo on the way, you say, "Oh, come and take shelter in my house," that type of thing. You are providing refuge to that person, and then there's somebody in your household who is attacking her. That person becomes a complainant, and that person in your household is the respondent, and you are all in a domestic relationship now. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So if you are acting as an agent of the respondent, or if you are encouraging third party, you are encouraging the person to threaten the person, that type of thing. See, just stay out of it. That's what I'm saying. You're telling me I have 5 minutes more. So let me just jump. Okay, so how the courts determine that you are in a domestic relationship: the amount of time you spend together, the place where that time is ordinarily spent, the manner in which the time is spent, and the duration of the relationship. So that's what I was giving. The example I gave about me walking from home to the station, meeting that particular vendor, the amount of time we spend together, the place where we spend, that all those things are indicators of how the court will determine. So the rules of engagement are simple. Know that domestic violence is a crime. They made a whole law on it, so you know that it is a crime because they took time to draw this. Anybody who is caught, in this act is going to get a prison term of 2 years or more. You either pay a fine of 500 penalty units, and the last time we checked, a penalty unit is 12 cedis, so times 500 will be 6,000 cedis. So you either get the fine or imprisonment, or you get both. Again, it's at the discretion of the court. So the court can also order that the victim be compensated. And you can't consent to domestic violence. You can't come to court and say that, "Oh, I said you should beat me." No, you can't do that. So what do you do as a victim of domestic violence? Or if you know someone, you can file a complaint with the police. If the victim is not able to do so, any family member can do that. And usually in law, when someone dies, usually the case is over. But with domestic violence situations, if your family member can even apply for you when the domestic violence has taken your life. But try not to die from it. Please complain, open your mouth and advocate for yourself. If somebody is threatening your life, please report them to the police. What else? Children may, if there's a child who is going through this, you can't come to court as a child, so you need a guardian ad litem or your next friend to come with you. So there's also that. You can file a complaint where the offender, the person who is threatening you or harming you, lives, where you, the victim yourself, lives, or where the domestic violence occurred. So even if it didn't occur in your vicinity or in their vicinity, wherever it's occurred, you can report to whichever police station that's around. Make sure that you report. Please report. Open your mouth and advocate for yourself. Nobody knows you better than you. So if you're not comfortable with something, please don't be afraid. If you need help, you can't afford a lawyer, please, legal aid is there. We are always there for you. The law provides a lot of options for you. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Rejoice.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful, and I feel like this was an in-depth, very, very in-depth categories of what each of these violence stand for, what it constitutes, and how best people can identify whatever signs or symptoms that is happening to them in any category or any space they find themselves in. And so before we move on to the next session, we can have any questions. So if you have a question, you can just use the lift your hand button down there, and then we can have the questions, and then the speakers will answer them as soon as possible. So let's just have like some 3 minutes, 3 questions or 2. Yes, so Samuel Wise Kid has raised his hand. So please, you can ask your question. Hi, Samuel, you can ask your question. Okay, so it's in the comment section, and he wants to know done by the ladies. So I don't know the gender stereotyping in there. Okay, I think that was just a comment
Please,
on
can I go on
presentation.
with
Okay,
my
yes.
question?
So, yes, you can go on.
Okay. Okay. What I was saying is that if the man had tried hard enough and the person or the man couldn't get money to fend for the family, is this one an example of an economic abuse? And the second question is that we all know that diaper changing of case are mostly done by the ladies. So I don't know the gender stereotyping in this. So these are the 2 questions that I want to ask. One is
Sorry,
a
you
question
said
and
what?
one. What I'm saying is that
Yeah.
if the man had tried hard enough, but the man couldn't get enough money to fend for the family, is this one classified as an economic abuse?
No, please. No, it doesn't. Economic abuse is the person has their money and their partner is preventing them from enjoying it, basically. So it's not about whether you have money, like you are now looking for money. No, you already have your money, but the person is just not allowing you to enjoy it how
What
you
about
want
if
to.
the person is having it, but the person is stingy about the money? Because you see, money is hard to find. So if I have the money and maybe I'm managing, maybe the lady wants to spend it at a certain rate, and I'm trying to also put things in order. That one too, can it be classified as an economic abuse?
Okay, I think I get where you're coming from. The thing is that you can't force anybody to do what they don't want to do. So if in that situation you're not willing to spend more than you think, maybe you're trying to, like you say, put things in place, that's fine. However, if the woman goes to report you to social welfare or to the courts will force you to pay to maintain the child, because especially if there are children involved, you have to do your part. You are responsible for the woman's upkeep and stuff like that. So maybe the court might even mention an amount that when you can't the man, like you should have just given it to her. Do you get what I mean? So you
Yeah, I
can't
get
sit
what
and
you mean.
determine that
But you see,
the money is
I know the amount. Maybe I'm giving my wife 500 Ghana cedi a month, and she wants 1,000 Ghana cedis. I know that
no, that
500 Ghana
doesn't
cedi can be.
fall. No, that's not an economic abuse.
All right. And the second thing that I was saying is that we all know that diaper changing of case are mostly done by the ladies. So we were talking about gender stereotyping, that things that males does best. Maybe sometimes we deprive the females of doing that. So changing of diapers, I know that changing of diapers is mostly done by the ladies, and I don't think it can be done by the males can be doing it, but it will not be constant like the ladies, how the ladies have been doing it. So I don't see any gender stereotyping in that changing of diapers.
Yes, so thank you for that question anyway. So we are not saying that the it becomes a stereotype when you think it's the woman who should mainly do it. So that if the woman is not there, you feel reluctant to do it. So that if your mom or your siblings are coming to visit and you are holding the baby, you are feeding the baby, you are changing the diaper, as soon as they get there, you feel uncomfortable. It shouldn't be the case at all. It should be a role for both the woman and the man. So that when your parents are coming there and your wife is changing the diaper, she feels comfortable. When your parents or her parents are also coming to meet you changing the diaper, you should feel comfortable about it. As soon as you start feeling uncomfortable and you be like, hey, I'm doing the woman's duty, they may laugh at me. They may say, the woman is directing me on affairs at home. Then it becomes a stereotype. So that's what makes it a stereotype. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Right. And so let's go on to our next speaker. And we have this third section being the psychological impact of gender-based violence on the individual and the community as large. And so our speaker is the CEO of the Mental Fortunes Network. And during his undergraduate, he had a paper on university students' attitudes towards male sexual abuse in Ghana. And through his organization, he has initiated training sessions for corporate organizations, equipping professionals with the tools to prioritize mental well-being and foster emotionally intelligent workplaces. And so basically, he has a background on psychology, and so he'll be delving into what it takes for a victim or a perpetrator, I mean, the psychological impact the gender-based violence has on all of us. And so he's the person of Roland Kojo Johnson. And so the floor is yours, Roland.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so much grateful for this opportunity. Please, how many minutes do I have? Just a quick reminder so that
Yeah,
I can just
20,
be.
20. Yeah,
All
20.
right, great. Thank you. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be showing my face. I'm sorry, guys. So kindly deal with my voice for now. Yes. All right. Thank you. So, thank you for, the opportunity again to actually share my thoughts on this very important topic, yet we overlook in our society. All right. And as you mentioned, I did my undergraduate dissertation on student attitude towards male sexual abuse. And this is to say that guys or men also get abused. And most of the time, much attention is not given to that. So please, I believe I'll be talking a lot on that because I want more awareness. Your brothers, your small, your junior brothers, your elder brothers, all of them, everyone needs protection. Everyone needs to be heard. All right. So we are talking about psychological impact of gender-based violence, and it is broad. It is a very great topic to actually discuss this evening. And the purpose of my presentation will highlight the psychological impact on survivors, discuss societal implications, and explore interventions. All right. So we've defined what gender-based violence is. I think we've heard so much on that, so there's no need for me to delve much or dwell so much on that. And then I'll just go straight into the emotional and then psychological disorders that is mainly connected to gender-based violence, and the most common one is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder, trauma-related condition causing flashbacks. So you have flashbacks, distress, and then hyperarousal. So these are some of the symptoms of PTSD. And then there's depression as well. Persistent sadness, loss of interest, and slow or low energy. Then anxiety. Anxiety is also one of the most common disorders associated with GBV.
Well, I think he's having a network problems. And so I think we should do Clement first, then we go back to Roland. And I think instead of waiting, we can just do Clement, who is actually available. And so Clement Barffo, Clement Barffo is the first vice president of the Marketing and Entrepreneurship Student Association of the University of Ghana. And he's also passionate about societal change and inclusive spaces. And so without wasting much time, I'll be projecting Clement's presentation so he can start. And then once we have Roland back, we'll get back to him. And so Clement, the floor is yours, and we can't wait to have your presentation.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much
Good
for this
evening.
opportunity.
Evening.
I would like to commend the organization for this initiative, and then also my fellow speakers who spoke before me. Yes, so today it's a briefly topic that I'm going to talk about, a brief one, the power of youth in combating gender-based violence in Ghana. That's in that context. I'm doing Ghana, right? Okay, so the power of youth. We've talked a lot about the gender-based, the legal framework, and all that. You as a youth, you are here today, you are in your various communities, various campuses. What can you do to support this cause? That's what you're going to look at. Okay, so we will first look at the current landscape of gender-based violence in Ghana. We need to get certain foundation of it before. Then we can look at how can the youth also support the role of the youths in advocating for the change about this gender base. And we will look at some practical examples, right, that young men can adapt to treat women. And there's a reason why women is there in the context, with respect and dignity. And then we will appeal to all of us. All right, so begin with, I hope you can all see these nice images and then the graphics up there. But is this available in Ghana? I mean, I want to ask, is this available in Ghana? Is this available in Ghana? Have anyone seen this before? Available in Ghana. Okay, so for me, I've seen some before. And the next question was, at what level of education can we really see this? Or can we find this? At what level of education? So I don't know if any one of us can answer that question for us. So one thing I observe is that at the primary level, and then we have the junior high, secondary high, and then the college level, I realized that at the primary level, we can easily find this. At the primary level of education, we can easily find this at break time, closing time. You find students at that level having some kind of interactions with their peers and then doing similar things. But as we progress get to JHS, junior high, senior higher education, and the college level, especially at the university, I don't think you can find this, all right? Because we think it's not abnormal, or I don't know the psychological implication of this, but that's what the thinking of people get into their mind, like, look, we can't do this at this level. But guess what? This is, I think, in the US or maybe in the UK, one of their colleges, they've been doing this a lot. Okay. So that's okay. So to begin with, and then talk. All right. So look at the current landscape of gender-based in Ghana and the current landscape. So before we talk about the current landscape, I think our first speaker explained what the gender-based violence is, right? I think it was Na. And briefly, we can say it's just trying to violate human rights of people, right? But the reason why we are violating their human rights is not based on because they don't have the capacity to do the work, or it's not based on merit, right? We are doing that based on gender inequality. And she explained the difference between gender and then sex. Okay, so here you are violating my right, you are violating your sister's right, your friend's right, just because of the gender disparity. And this can manifest in various forms. When you abuse person physically, all right, in public spaces, when you are harassing someone sexually, it's also gender-based violence. When you are emotionally manipulating people. So one example I can infer to is that there is this woman that the husband is in abroad right now for 5 years now. But I think the husband in his mind think he has landed, okay? So she's trying to treat the woman poorly, and that's an emotional manipulation, okay? So when you encounter that or you are doing that to someone, it's a gender-based violence. You need to realize that. Economic deprivation, I think the lawyer also said that. Economic deprivation, right? You are limiting someone's economic freedom, and that also constitutes gender-based violence. And then one we don't really think violence is that some of our practices, I term it as harmful practices, like the child marriage. Some of us, where we come from, it's very common. You get someone at the late age at around, let's say 13, 14, 12, then they say go and marry. You were a woman, then they say go and marry. Okay. And this female genital, what's it called? Mutilation. It's also very common in some parts of our country. So as a society, as youth, we need to come and realize that all this constitutes gender-based violence. Okay. Now, this practice that we are talking about, it doesn't only violate just your rights. Okay, it doesn't only violate just your rights. It has an implication on a lot of things. Economy, a whole lot, your psychological health and all that. Okay. So the reason why this topic is very much important as youth, that we need to realize and start discussing and start doing something about it, is because of the statistics. It's not encouraging. So this is statistics as of January 2024. All right. And then it says that 30% of Ghanaian women, all right, who have experienced sexual violence at least once in their lifetime. When you take Ghanaian women, all of them, 30% of them have experienced this sexual harassment at least once in their lifetime. Okay. And then when you take the percentage of women between the age of 15 and 49, that's the range, 15 and 49. Some of them have experienced some of physical violence since age 15. So that's why I show you the picture, that at the primary level of education, we seem to be very happy with all of us. We don't even care about this gender thing. But as we go up and as we progress through up and we get to higher level of education, we seem to this is a female, this is a male, and all that. We seem to bring this kind of disparity. And so the information or the statistics saying that from age 15 to 49, these people experience physical violence since age 15. And I'm sure most of us can attest to that. Even your own brother and your own will be trying to abuse you physically at that age. And the data is also showing that there is 7% of men, right, who report experiencing sexual violence in their lifetime. So don't think it's not there. It's there. It's there. 7% of men also experience this kind of violation, sexual violation or sexual harassment. However, the data is showing that 30% of women. So that's why when you hear people talk about gender-based violence, the first thing that your mind will probably goes to is about women, because of the data available. Okay, it's because of the data available. Now, we know the foundation of this whole thing. We know that there is a data or there's a status showing that it's not encouraging. Now you understand all this gender-based violence. What's your role as youth? I'm very optimistic that most of us are youth. And now you have come to this seminar. You are going back. What can you do to contribute to this gender-based violence and help salvage the situation? We talk about some harmful norms and practices like gender, female genital mutilations, and then child marriages. You need to go and challenge all those practices. Go to your respective communities, challenge those practices, ask them the reason why they are doing that. Let them know that it's wrong for them to do that. Educate people, challenge those practices. You are a youth. That's the way you can also contribute. One way. Okay, we could have peer-led initiative, have discussions, have workshop that really focus on healthy relationship building and then mutual respect. Lead these initiatives on your various campuses, at your workplace, your societies. Lead this initiative. That's the simple way you can also contribute to this. We talk about research and data collections, right? Now, there are various organizations that are doing very well in this sector, like this very organization, ICI, right? InspireChange International. Probably they will come out and say, okay, we want people to help us to collect data in helping us to research very well. As a youth, you can contribute to that. Volunteer to them, okay? Because they want information that will help them to inform their intervention. This is more or less like a social marketing course. Because it's not just about creating awareness, it's about people changing from that behavior of that gender-based violence. Men thinking that they are out, they have an upper hand to these women. So we want to change that behavior. We need to get data on that so that I can inform the kind of intervention that we are going to do. As a youth, what can you do there? Help them in their research. Help them in collecting data. That's the best that you can do. All right? Now, there's also social media everywhere. It's a powerful tool. We can't discount that. Right? But the youth, we use these tools wrongly. That's a sad thing. We use it wrongly. You can also use that specific tool, that powerful tool, to contribute to this. At least every week, post something about this gender-based violence. Be an ambassador to this course. Be an ambassador to this course. Your various colleges, departments, those of you university colleges and all that, right? Your societies, be an ambassador. Social media, be active and talk about those things. When you see those things, talk about it. Then we can have peer education programs in schools. So you can come together as 5, 4, 20, go into your schools. Those of you in SHS, you can go to the teachers level and then the primary level. Go there as a community service, as form of volunteering. Speak to these children about this, because when they are very young and then they know these things, I'm not sure when they grow up, they'll keep on doing these things. Okay, so we can come together and then form these groups, go to various schools, and then teach students about caring and healthy, about healthy relationships and this concept of whole gender-based violence. Okay, and then we can also participate in policy advocacy. So most of us don't follow current affairs. At this time, that as youth, that's what you can do to help the situation. Follow current affairs, the policymakers, our legislatures. Okay, follow this whole current affairs and know what kind of laws that it is in favor of this gender-based violence, then contribute to that. You can come together, go to parliament and see that, okay, we've seen that you are working on this very paper or this very law, but you've seen that it is not going forward. The pace at which it's going is very low. We want you to facilitate the whole process. We've come together as a youth and we want to know what's the state of this particular law. All right, can come together and help in that particular advocacy. Now, we can also collaborate with NGOs dedicated to supporting these victims. So the one particular NGO that we are talking about here probably maybe InspireChange International, ICI. They are there, they are dedicated in supporting these victims and this particular good cause. Collaborate with them, be available to them. All right. These are all roles that we can also use as youths, ways and means that we can contribute to this particular gender-based violence. Okay. Now, we would delve into our third content. Now, there are some positive practices that young men, because of the data, right? It says that the men is 7%, but the women it's above more than 30%. So, what can we do to adapt to treat our women with respect and dignity on campuses? That's in context. This of us on various, because I am a university student, I'm talking on campuses, but I'm not sure only on campuses, in your communities, in your societies, workplaces where you find yourself. One of them is I will give scenarios later on, but active listening, okay, and a use of respectful language. Respect boundaries. Some of us, if you don't know how that boundaries, it's very poor. It's not good because somebody show you a little kindness, you think you can overstep. Respect boundaries. This goes to the men and then the women as well. Respect boundaries. Know your boundaries. Know where to touch. Know where to step. Know where to talk. There are certain things it's not meant for you to talk about it, right? And let's challenge stereotypes. So we were talking about some stereotypes that we need to challenge them. They are not good. You will look at scenarios very soon. And then men too, we need to support women empowerment. All right. Now let's look at some scenarios that depict these things. So, academic discussions, right? You'll be saying that I don't think women are naturally good at math. I've heard this several times. When it comes to mathematics, women be saying they themselves, because it's been consistently everywhere, they naturally or artificially begin to accept it. All right. And men or the guys in our campus, you don't need to be saying these things. Okay. You need to disagree with these things because research has shown that there is no inherent difference in men, right? Ability between men and women. That shows that, they are not good at math. There's no data of that sort. Okay. So we need to start disputing those facts. They're not true. Now, sometimes we'll be giving us some group work, some group assignments and all that. And then somebody could just come from nowhere, like a gentleman, right? The person says that, oh, I don't think this female partner or this female colleague member can handle this particular task. It's too technical. So let's say there is a presentation that you are supposed to present on, and then you are done with the whole thing, the discussion and everything, the right type, and you need somebody to do the PowerPoint. The first person that will say, oh, look at this guy, he can do. Look at this gentleman, he can do. And the woman will be run away because in our mind we think we can do. No. Okay, we need to disagree. All right. Our team members, you can say, okay, our team members have shown expertise in this area. Let's give her the opportunity. All right. And then contribute to provide support when needed. So they have their expertise. Don't underestimate them. Our women and our ladies have the expertise. So when it comes to group work on campuses, then you are given this opportunity. Don't say, I'll handle the PowerPoint presentation. Ask them if they can, give it to them. Okay. Now, one stereotypes too that we will always be encountering is that I think I met a female friend and around, and then she was saying that she came and they do a course in social science because she was told that women are not good at programming. She wanted to go and do computer science. And then they should, sometimes men will say, people are not good at programming, you should focus on nursing. So when you come to the nursing field, you see the population of women in there. It's wrong. Let's start changing that kind of mindset. Speak to it. Start educating people on that mindset. It's made for everyone. You can do it. Computer science, accounting, whatever. You can do it. It's not based on gender. That those courses were not put together because on gender basis. No. All right. So we need to be able to accept or show that those things are stereotypes. Many women are excellent, right? Many of them are very excellent programmers who have successful careers in text. So there's one woman who is currently in Kenya helping with them with their telecommunication and everything. She's a woman from Ghana. But I don't know whether the condition was not favorable to her. That's why she traveled to Kenya, and she's doing very well. Even in Ghana currently, our communication minister is a woman, Eslo. Okay, all right. I don't want to go to the next thing. So another thing that we can also talk about is that we need to be supporting women in their women empowerment. So when we have programs on campuses, like let's say UG is having a campus about these women, and you feel like, let's say the title or it's been titled about women. Men feel like it's about women, we won't go. Go and support them. Okay. Now, I met a friend who I think just this semester, and then she wants to contest for a position. But she's having this inherent belief that, look, I'm a woman, I can't. Now, the best thing that you can do as a male friend is to encourage her. Look, you have the great ideas in this leadership thing whole thing. Okay. I encourage you to do what? To run for the position. And I will support you throughout the process. That's the best thing you could do. Just because the person says, I'm a woman, I can't do it. Oh, yeah, it's true, you can't do it. It's not true. They can. Last year, SRC president for Kenya was a woman. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. And probably his team, if you go and check, there were men supporting him. So that's the best thing that as youth we can do in various communities, societies, and our campuses very specifically. Okay. Yes, and I need to focus on the promoting women empowerment. I think I've talked about that one. When you see programs on campus and then it's depicting more about women, go and sit there, support them. Go and support them. All right? Go and support them. So these are the things that we can do as youth. Let's be ambassador for this gender-based violence. All right? I'm not sure you want to see your own sister or your own cousin who's a woman suffering from this whole thing. It's not nice. And the woman too, I'm not sure you see your own brother telling you today, my wife has beaten me and all that. You won't like it and then you won't enjoy it. So it's something that it's threatening us. Gender-based violence. We need not to do things just because somebody is a male, is a female, and all those things. Even now, Ghana, very lucky we have about I don't know whether to say lucky or not, but Ghana right now, it's obvious that we are going to have the first female vice president. I'm very happy about that one. I don't know what's wrong with that. US had their election, and then somebody was saying US is not ready for a female president. Who told you? I'm not sure they are even thinking about those things. Okay, we are all one, have the same capabilities. Let's do things based on merit, not because of gender. So at this stage, I invite everyone here, and then those of us who couldn't even join us. Let's extend this invitation to everyone. Okay, to join this particular foundation. You've done very well. To even talk about this, it's not easy. Okay, the kind of attitude you get from people. InspireChange International. Let's all go to their website, LinkedIn, follow them, and then be ambassadors for this particular course. I'm sure there are various individuals and organizations also doing the same thing. Okay, let's support them to combat and then challenge and come to a savage situation with this gender-based violence. All right. But first of all, you need to educate yourself very well. You need to know much about this thing. So we were talking about the Domestic Violence Act. You read it. and assimilate it to understand it very well before. Because if you go and then talk to about people who are not, they are ignorant about this particular thing, you need to know more about it so that you can talk to them. So educate yourself about this person issue and advocate for those who cannot speak. Very much important. Not everyone, people are suffering in pain anyway, but get to them if you speak to them and you know that this person, because probably she don't have the medium and then the capability to speak, lead the person. So if a friend is having, or a female friend is encountering sexual harassment on campus, and you are a male friend, the best thing you could do is, okay, I can support you to report to the authorities. Because mind you, if you know this very well and then say, okay, you are a woman, I will not support you, probably it will happen to a family of yours or probably your own kid one day. All right. So support organization working tirelessly towards the gender-based violence, right? As I said, InspireChange International is a particular organization that's focusing and then that's advocating about this particular thing. As I said, the awareness creation bit is very much important, but as some people will change their attitude towards this, it's also very much important. So we are doing the awareness creation at this stage. Let's all go out there, be ambassadors, all right? And then try and then change behaviors about all these things. Because the major thing at the end of this whole thing, that people will change their behavior and their mindset towards this gender-based thing, all right? So collectively, as young people from these universities and then our society together, let's come together, all right? And then cultivate a culture where mutual respect supersedes everything. Violence, inequality, abuse, free from any fear. Like, you should create an environment where people can also speak free from fear, inequality, and any abuse. All right. So I'm hoping that today, all of us, we are going out there, help people to change their behaviors, and then the mindset towards this gender-based violence. By 3 months today or 6 months ahead of us, when we come here, right now we are about, let's say if you are 20 here, we need to get at least 60, 80. That means that we're making progress. People are beginning to understand this whole concept. All right. So thank you very much for your opportunity to speak here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Clement. We are so grateful for such an insightful presentation. And Roland is back. But before that, we can have 2 questions first before we admit Roland. And so whoever has a question, just use the left hand button and then we can have you. So any question for Clement on the role of youth in empowering and combating gender-based violence? Okay, so I don't think there's a question. And so, yeah. So Roland, please, the floor is yours now. We can have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so sorry, people. I don't know what. I was actually talking all by myself, thinking I was presenting. God knows how long. All right. Where did I get to? Please, if anyone was following.
Yeah, so you ended at the depression. You were mentioning some of the psychological impact.
Good. Thank you. Yes, so we've spoken, I think I mentioned PTSD, depression, then there's anxiety, excessive worry with physical and mental tension. So there's this worry with physical and then mental tension. Then feeling of shame and guilt. Remember, they are victims of these abuse, and then there's this shame, and then there's guilt. Why did I allow it? Why did I even go there? So they end up asking, overthinking. I call it overthinking. Thinking of the worst case scenarios. Why did I go there? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do this? Then the key symptoms, nightmares, there's flashbacks, there's hypervigilance. Hypervigilance here, extreme alertness to perceived threats. So they're always alert when you invite them out, they are always alert to threats, thinking that someone might harm them or something, Then there's emotional numbness and then withdrawal. Emotional ability to feel emotions fully. Ability to feel emotions fully. So these are some of the emotional and then psychological disorders or symptoms that we can actually take attention or pay attention to. All right. There's withdrawal as well, very important. Then cognitive and then behavioral effects. Cognitive. Then there's cognitive and behavioral effects. So cognitive impairment, we are looking at difficulty in concentrating and then making decisions, problem with memory, focus, and then reasoning. All right. Then we have the behavioral responses, self-harm, and then suicidal ideation. Self-harm and then suicidal ideation. Then some people also resort to substance abuse as a coping mechanism. Some actually resort to substance abuse as a coping mechanism. I remember there was a cousin of mine when I grew up in a house, and there was an auntie who was actually sleeping with a cousin of mine, a boy, a very young boy, and today, as we've matured, as we've grown, the guy actually finds older women attractive. He's addicted to porn. He, even when university days, when you see this girl and you're like, oh, this girl is nice, like she'll be like, ah, this small girl. Meanwhile, this is not a small girl. So these are some of the things that the people end up being. Okay, pay attention to that. And most of the time when we talk about abuse, we always think that it is women alone and children. Yes, but remember, men also go through it. Some men also, one out of six men get abused. So please pay attention to that. It's very important. Then impact of interpersonal relationships, societal isolation. Survivors may withdraw from social interactions, trust issues, because this is someone that you never think that they will do that to you. This is an auntie, an uncle, a bishop, someone you reverence, someone you revere. Then the person ends up, taking advantage of you. You end up having trust issues. So rebuilding that trust is difficult, Then you have difficulty forming new relationships as well. And remember, there's always relationship challenge related to this issue, because you struggle with intimacy. You might, anytime you become intimate with your partner, it might remind you of your pain, of that encounter, and then it will trigger an emotion. Okay, and then you have difficulty with communication as well. Then there's the intergenerational or transgenerational trauma as well. That is related to GBV. So children exposed to gender-based violence may develop emotional and then behavioral issues. So I mentioned my cousin's issue, emotionally, or behavior-wise as well. He started doing a lot of things, like doing girls, and then he's with this person, he's with that person, he's with this person. I'm not using it as an excuse, but it's actually a contributing factor as well. Very important. Then the cycle of violence. Some people normalize violence. They become so violent, very aggressive, out of whatever they encountered. Okay. Then stigma and then cultural barriers. Community reaction. Survivors often face stigma and blame. First thing first, we ask, and these are baseless, because trust me, most of the victims that end up being raped, they were not wearing revealing clothes. They were fully covered, and their victims, their perpetrators actually had their way, you know. So the stigma, the blame, we shouldn't blame when we hear such, because we are human. I understand. We listen, we don't judge. But hey, sometimes some of us listen and we judge. And I thank God that InspireChange International has started some of these things to, you know, help us know, be aware of the whole issue at hand. So we listen, we don't judge. Then barriers to seeking help, fear of judgment, as I mentioned, lack of resources. I think our learner, our lawyer also mentioned that lack of resources. Lack of resources. It's how many mental health facilities are there in the country as we are talking, and how it is annoying. Sometimes when I think about it, it just annoys me. I mean, because it's not fine that the whole Ghana, there's Pantine Hospital, across psychiatry, and then one other mental health. It's just three. It's sad. It's just sad. So, what's the way forward? Addressing the psychological impact. What is the way forward? Focused, so trauma focused therapy. You can mention CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. You know, I am very much concerned about therapy because Ghanaians sometimes, most of the times, we let our religious inclinations overshadow or take over to the extent that we ignore the professional aspect of of help. Okay, just know that when there's the need for us to be spiritual, when there's a need for us to do kabayaba, we do it. When there's a need for us to, go to the hospital or something, we must do so. So trauma focused therapy, support groups for survivors. So this is a wake up call to us. What can we start a support group for survivors? InspireChange International. Can we, together with all of us here, can we come together and start a support group for survivors? Is that, we should also think about that. Then community support, public awareness, which you are doing, fantastic, to reduce the stigma in our own small way. I always say I'm a church worker. I'm a church boy. Every opportunity I get, I actually get to talk about some of these societal issues, especially mental health, and some of these things, because we don't hear them, we don't talk about them. Okay, so public awareness campaign to reduce the stigma in our own small little way. What can you do? Enough of watching funny TikTok videos, enough of scrolling. What content can you also create to talk about GBV? Okay, then institutional role, strengthening legal protections and then access to mental health services. I've signed on to be a peer counselor with Zomujo. You can equally do so. They've started the training for the next batch. As a peer counselor, you come on to offer first aid. If the case is beyond you, then you refer to a professional, quote and unquote. Okay, so basically, let's pay attention to the legal protection, strengthening legal protection as well. I think the Madam Lawyer also talked so much on that, So in summary or in conclusion of everything, Gender-based violence has profound psychological effects on survivors. The ripple effects impact families, communities, and society. Remember, if you have a brother, you have a sister who one way or the other might have gone through this issue, will go through an issue, and it's taking your time, your energy, everything. So and so that I should say, and so that the accounts will say, and so that. So sometimes you feel it is too far from you, so and found no, it's must fire. It was say and fire. Okay, so we must promote awareness, support, and then systematic change. Remember, let's be empathetic. Empathy. Let's show empathy. In so much of the judgmental, issues. Be empathy. Be empathetic. Know that a boy can be a victim. A girl can be a victim. A woman, a man can be a victim. So remember all these things, and let's be empathetic. Okay? Please, if you have any questions, you want to share your thoughts, maybe I said something that I left something out, you want to add it on, please, the floor is opened for us to, for you to also share your thoughts with me as well. Remember, Nyansa eni obakufuch etrim. Thank you.
Thank you so much, so much, Roland. This was very insightful and powerful. I think basically, even as a perpetrator's mindset, I think from what you've said, it will actually put the person on their toes, because sometimes you are just doing something and unconsciously you don't even know the depth at which it can actually affect someone. And so I feel like your part of the session is also critically important. And we are grateful for giving us such an insightful and impactful direction and perspective on psychological impact. And so the floor is opened. Anyone who wants to have any question, any suggestion, we are open. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you can speak. Yeah, I've seen a hand up. Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm Emanuela.
Right, Manuela, please. Let's hear you.
Please, I want to ask. When speaking, I learned you have some group where you are training peers. Roland mentioned peer counseling and all. Is there a chance where some of us can also join some of these groups that you have?
Right. Thank you
And
very much. Yeah.
and
Roland
also
is on. Yeah.
and also anyway, I just chance on there's someone just sent it to me and I joined lately. I want to ask, how do we join your group? Yeah, that's all for now.
Okay.
Please, was there a question for me?
Yes, and so she was asking about the peer counseling, about how your mental fortunes network, you do that for corporate bodies and other people. So she wants to know how she can join and how she can reach your outfit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So with the Mental Fortunes Network, for now, it's an online-based organization that we help people with such uh, victims or people having psychological challenges, connect them to professionals for free for now, for free. That's what we are offering to the general public. And then with the training sessions, that one is more like a mental health at the workplace, how to prioritize your mental health. We also train corporate organizations on emotional intelligence and then self-awareness, on communication skills, and I mean all the soft skills that is needed for you to function and function well at the corporate world. Thank you. Then how to join? Please, you can actually send me a DM
I
on.
hope your question has been answered.
Yes, yes. Bye.
Yeah, so we are. I'm on Instagram, so I'm on LinkedIn as well. So you can connect with me. Then we pick it up from there. I'm Roland Kojo Johnson. Roland Kojo Johnson.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, so it's a wrap, and then we'll have our closing remarks from the founder and executive director of InspireChange International, Rejoice Tetteh-Narh. And so she has the floor now.
Hi, good evening to us all, and thank you so much for participating in our webinar. We are really grateful to our esteemed speakers and you, of course, for staying on from 5 p.m. till now. We know, I mean, the country is still celebrating, but you have really taken time off to join us for this thought provoking and insightful engagement online. And I'm appreciating you all for your time being here. And I know that today has been an awesome webinar, and from all the speakers that we've had on board, one thing I've realized, and I know that you have also picked the cue, is that we have been able to transform the concept of awareness into actionable strategies. And so it lies on all of us to play our minute roles wherever we find ourselves, to also help make the world a safer and a healthier place for us all, and then to also continue to empower others, to help fight the issue of gender-based violence. As our youth experts said, it is not just about the abuses we know, but sometimes our cultural practices also, can't find itself defined as an abuse or a gender-based violence. So it lies on all of us to play our roles. And I know for a fact that having gathered all this information, we would go out there, play our various roles to help, because organizations spring up day in and day out, and they cannot capture the whole world. Even ICI is trying its best to do something, but like our youth experts said, we need you all on board. When we call for volunteers, we need you all out there for us. When we call for support, we need you all out there for us. So I want to thank all of you, and to also reaffirm that we remain committed as an organization to driving change. And of all our thematic areas that we have one that dwells explicitly on social justice, and gender-based violence is one of it. And so in their whole atmosphere of international celebration and commemoration of the elimination of treatment, I mean, gender-based violence against women and all, we thought it wise to hold such a forum to get us all on board, to get us to know that it's not all about the talking, but it's about time. And as we know that now we are in a Gen Z, world, we need to do more than just to be adamant, to be followers of conceptual frameworks and all, but we have to put them into practice. So together, I know if having gathered all this information, we can create a society free from violence and inequality, and that at the end of the day, the Ghana we want, the Africa we want, the world we want, I mean, can be peaceful for us also. This is something small I have to say. I just want to encourage us all also to stay inspired, to stay committed, and then continually drive change in your own small way. And in closing, I would like to also request that you kindly follow us on all our social media handles, Instagram, Twitter, that is X. We are on as InspireChange_I. And then on LinkedIn, we are on as InspireChange International. The InspireChange is together. InspireChange is together. And then we are on Facebook also as InspireChange International. So follow us. We also have our website, www.inspirechangeinternational.org. If you are available, you can also go there. I mean, visit the site and volunteer. You can apply to volunteer. And when we are rolling out our on-site projects for our thematic areas, which cuts across humanitarian advocacy, peace, education, I mean, sexual and reproductive health and rights, I mean, and all of that, we can fall on you so that together we can drive change in the society and then build a society best for us and our generations to come. So thank you all for joining us for this insightful section, and we hope to see you again when we call on you for another insightful webinar. Thank you once again. Eva, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rejoice. And so without wasting much time, the meeting has come to an end. And we are so grateful once again. And so thank you very much. And then we hope you are inspired to combat gender-based violence through your own ways. And we look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. Thank you. You can leave now. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Oh, someone has raised their hand.
Yeah. Seth, you can ask your question, but you have to ask very fast, very, very fast. Yeah. Hi, you can ask your question. I don't think it's voluntary. I think his hand is just on. Okay, so Naughty, yeah. Please, you can ask your question. Just ask your question. Let's go on.
Okay, Peter, you sent a link to their website, and I think my network cut me off, and when I came back, I couldn't get it. So can you resend it?
Oh, okay. Yes. And so yeah, so the link to the website has been posted there again.
So the link to the website is
Thank you.
www.inspirechangeinternational.org. Is a .org, yes. And I think if you check the in-call messages, there is a link for you to kindly share your feedback on this just ended webinar. So we'll also share the same link to you via emails, but if you could just copy it now, some of you, I'm sure we don't have your emails yet. So if you could copy the feedback link, then you can share your thoughts on how this webinar has been impactful so far. Thank you. Bye-bye.